And boom, we're live again.
Already, yeah. This is we've been deprived of ourselves, and we're depriving other people.
Gotta get that content out there, man.
We'll get the backlog going again. So we had 2 episodes recorded.
Yeah, we had a long conversation that we ended up splitting into 2.
Pretty long.
You want to hear it? You got to hear the first part that already went up. That was entertaining.
lots of Brian McKenzie.
Oh yeah, well Brian's awesome.
Yeah.
That's Brian's awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is episode, I think 47 now. We're getting close to the 52 1-year anniversary.
I heard that's when you start monetizing.
Oh really?
I heard.
Anyway, you're listening to BJJ and Brews. We are on the mats Monday afternoon, 4:30, getting ready for a gi jiu-jitsu class at 6. And our first foray at 7, from 7 to 8, into our Jiu-Jitsu with strikes class.
Yeah, jits with hits.
Jits with hits.
Not my term.
Yeah, Chris is very excited about this class.
I am. I like it. I think it's going to drastically change people's approach to jiu-jitsu.
I don't know if it'll open their eyes, because at the end of the day, all the other roles were not trying to hit you, but it's going to make them aware of, oh shit, if someone's punching me now, this changes the whole scenario.
We'll see.
It'll be interesting. I'm interested to see the turnout, though. I'm interested to see what the ratio it is of white belts to colored belts. I think it's a good time. And we'll just see,
because people just go right
we'll see
onto
who
the
comes.
mat.
Yeah.
It's just more mat time.
Absolutely.
Too, right? Like and if you're a mindful trainee anyway, you're going to be taking what you learn from that and cross-pollinating between all the other different grappling classes you're taking.
But I just can tell how giddy you are. It's like closed guard's going to come back, and people are going to understand what it's like.
Closed guard and
closed
spider
guard,
guard.
overhook.
Yeah, man.
Overhook.
Like truly controlling posture.
Covering that other ankle, or not ankle, that wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Driving your shin into the crook of
Getting
the elbow.
Like good collar ties and not letting
old
the
school
posture up.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, man.
This is what Rick Hickson was teaching in the garage.
But
in
no
Southern Cal.
gis. So that's
gi pants.
But not,
you don't
there's no
have to
collar
wear
grab
gi
there,
pants.
right?
Correct.
I mean, so that's what's cool about it. It's
Street
like
jiu-jitsu.
it's when you think of I guess Eddie Bravo's sort of I think he teaches his class in gi pants and like a rash guard.
But most of those 10th Planet guys are just wearing leggings.
Pure
leggings.
like spats and stuff.
Basically what you're wearing right now.
Yeah.
The human condom.
That's
You've got yourself wrapped. You know, I used to wear leggings or spats all the time. I have no problem calling them leggings because I think that's what they are. But
I mean, which sounds more like
spats sounds like something cowboys wear, and these are.
I actually don't know. I only call them spats because that's just what.
Anyway, I've worn spats before, and now I just like grappling in shorts. I don't mind the skin. I actually kind of like it. Yeah, it's, I know there's more skin exposure, but people here are hygienic. It's. I don't think there's.
I used to never wear a rash guard under my gi top.
Well, I'm doing that now because I'm getting ready for the competition, and you're not allowed to wear a rash guard.
You can't.
IBBJF rules: no rash guard.
It's just skin.
Just skin.
Can you wear spats underneath?
Underneath your pants?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
You're not allowed to wear a cup.
Wow.
You can wear a mouthpiece, thankfully.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense.
God, like that would be horrendous.
So I started training without because I always train. I always wear a gi with a rash guard on. I've always just liked how that feels, and I also think it's out of courtesy to the other people grappling. It's like what's going to be less offensive to the people that might be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Seeing my bare chest with some hair on it, or having just a rash guard there.
Have you noticed additional chest hair grabs?
No, I haven't.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I have a little chest hair, but it's not these curly.
It's not the like the Chuck Norris.
Thankfully.
In Way of the Dragon.
I have actually thought about it. I was like, should I shave it? I was thinking about it because I've never shaved my chest before, and I was like, should I shave it for this?
Do
Go
you
full Brazilian?
drill with a mouth guard?
Yes. No, I only if it's hard drilling. So when I go on my hard days now, I'm wearing a mouthpiece.
Okay.
But if I'm just doing like, the reps that we do for the technique, I'm not wearing a.
That's interesting because
mouth
like
guard.
just kind of circling back to our conversation the other day about where Brian McKenzie and you and everybody's like, Chris, you're just a wimp. Like,
Wait a minute, we didn't say Chris is a wimp. You're using those words. I never said that. I just said that you've always tried to. Your emphasis has always been on bringing people into jiu-jitsu, and you don't think being aggressive with them and being a mat bully and showing them the power is the way to do that. And when they're confrontations, you're going to look for all avenues to de-escalate using less force as opposed to, all right, motherfucker, I'm going to put it on you. You
right.
know?
And
there's nothing wrong,
But like when it comes to training, like I've always approached training with the mindset of, if I'm going to ever spar or do anything, like I'm going to be wearing a mouth guard. So like when I drill, I don't know if you notice, I'm always
from the
beginning
put the
of
mouthpiece
class.
in when you put this gi on now. When we're done with this podcast, you're gonna put your gi on and put your mouthpiece in, and you're gonna have conversation with people with your mouth
with my mouth guard
with your little orange mouthpiece,
the little sisu.
Yeah, and then,
I'm not sure how much that thing actually does, but
it makes you'll do that. You'll do the warm up in it. Yeah,
because like I just feel like athletically, if I need to perform. If I'm going to be wearing a mouth guard, I just should be wearing a mouth guard.
Sure.
So which is funny because it's contrary to me, like going and performing at a very, very high level during training because like
or high intensity.
Or high intensity.
I wouldn't say high level. I mean, the
but
levels
high intensity,
there, it's just intensity.
So like that's, I'm not going to prepare myself for a high level of intensity unless I go to a high level intensity.
Well, you're going to see me going hard tonight. So
yeah, I guess so. It's advanced class, right? So
I think it's an all levels class.
I don't think so.
Really? Okay.
I think it's intermediate advanced because like.
And there's no fundamentals class. It's just.
I think so.
Okay. Well.
Maybe the intention is to make sure those fucking beginners get in there and do the damn jitsu.
Listen to that. The black belt here, black belt Chris is you fucking beginners get into that class.
But maybe that's just it, right? Like they need to have that in mind, and it's jiu-jitsu not all play. So.
Well, I mean, Paul even said that this is definitely people taking fundamentals and white belts. It's essentially you're taking this, and at least it gives them an opportunity to. Have a class where they prepare for the self-defense section of the blue belt test.
Right. Because prior to it was never.
So I'm pulling this up, and it's BJJ all levels at 6.
Oh, it is? Okay. So it's going to be gigantic.
And then there's bag and pad and BJJ with strikes at 7. So 2 classes.
So today's 6 o'clock class is essentially the bench press day of jiu-jitsu classes.
There you go.
It's Monday. That means everybody shows up. So, hopefully, yeah, I'm excited. I was like kicking myself on the way to work this morning. I was like, God damn, I forgot my MMA gloves.
Oh no, you don't need MMA gloves.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna be doing that. So
he was very clear in explaining that the class is not an MMA class.
Yeah,
it's really more tailored to jiu-jitsu practitioners. So they have the combat,
Perhaps
street
this
jiu-jitsu.
Is what I mean. Like. It's a good experimentation, especially for the newer student who joins for the idea of self-defense, right? Like
absolutely,
because,
and it checks that box for
it. It definitely does, right? Like the fact that we offer it, and the fact, I mean, like it's just good to keep in the back of your head anyway. Like we kind of talk about that a lot, like especially a beginner who comes, and we've had that new beginner or the new student sign up sheet and stuff, and like, what are you signing up? What are your goals? And it's like fitness, self-discipline, community, blah blah. Of course, competition and self-defense. It's like I like to think that if not that our older curriculum or our older schedule was bad. I mean, I got what I wanted out of it. But it's also somebody with like 20 plus years of martial arts training at this point. Like somebody off the street, they may not interpret what we do as self-defense, even though that's what they're looking for.
Well, and Paul's always been good with, I think, new people of when he gives lessons, even in a class, in our, let's say, a traditional, whether it's an all levels class. Because again, I agree with you. This is a good time to experiment with the schedule. The BJJ with strikes class is definitely an example of that. The competition class on Wednesday is another example of that. it'll be interesting to see the people's reaction, turnout, that sort of thing. And
did you do the competition class on Friday? Or what? Yeah. You said
I was here for
it. Was like very
Wednesday.
Position specific, strategic,
and very short time intervals,
Yeah.
up tempo. So not giving you a time to really rest.
Right.
So there's a lot of
or
conditioning.
to rest or stall, right?
Correct.
Like, yeah. So
and it encouraged you to be aggressive because
You only
failing
got
for
one-
the aggression doesn't punish you by being stuck for extended period of time because the next round's going to come, a few seconds. So just go. So I think obviously I don't know what was in the agenda for Paul starting 2020. Obviously 2020 has been a wrench in everyone's plans. So when the gym reopened, up until really this point, it's been just slowly adding classes and just seeing people trickle back and who's trickling back and what the attendance like. And now we're at a point where
definitely big.
Yeah, now we're at a point where there's a good number of people returning. Obviously, there's some that are still not, but there's also new people too. People that have just started post, pandemic, so to speak, or at least post lockdown restrictions.
Yeah.
And
are we in phase 3 at this point?
I have no idea.
I don't know what it is. I guess
I have no idea, but
post lockdowns.
I'm very thankful that the gym's open. Where I'm able to train, and it's kept me sane. And
I'm very thankful that we've had some
Oh,
fairly responsible students who are coming.
absolutely.
Yeah, like that's
absolutely.
Awesome.
I mean, I as weird as it sounds in my head, I think it's safer to come in here than to walk into a 7-Eleven or a Wawa.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who's walked in there.
Right.
And just the fact that we have standards about, hey, you got to be a little hygienic here. You got to trim your nails. Just the stuff you learn from grappling, not so much jiu-jitsu, but just grappling, like the etiquette with that, I think is going to encourage a type of maturity around one's hygiene and health, so that I think we've got people that are less likely to be problematic.
Fucking
Plus, we know the people very
harbingers
well.
of-
Yeah, you know. But we're all taking a risk training. We know that, and we've weighed the risk reward, and it's too important to us. So we keep training. So that being said, I want to see how this class is. I want to see the response. It's cool to see these new faces, and I think it'll if things continue to trend positively, then I think we're just going to continue to add new. Probably split Muay Thai at some point, and
I think that
it hasn't been split into
hasn't
fundamentals and advanced yet. So yeah, it's.
I can tell you that now that it's a fucking sparring class on Saturday, that class has been huge.
Really?
Yeah, the
It's
past.
a fun
2
time to
Saturdays
be
I've been-
alive, bro.
I guess so. It's like people want to feel alive, right? And there's no better way of feeling alive than getting punched and kicked in the face.
So on Saturday, I asked Brian, I was like, how many street fights have you been in? And he said like around 8 or so. And you said you've been in none. So have you been in
none.
any altercation that, like, we all talk about the jiu-jitsu saved my life, right? Danaher worked as a bouncer, and that helped him out. Have you ever been in a situation where you've outside of a gym, so in a street situation where you've had to apply your martial arts skills, whether it's stand-up or grappling?
No.
Have you had to defuse a situation that was
Yes.
leading that way? So
I've pulled people apart a lot of times.
you've pulled people a lot.
Yeah.
So do you think you'd be more apt
like
to,
college days.
So do you feel like your comfort level with grappling, even at that time, gave you more confidence to insert yourself and pull people off, or were you going to do that even if you?
I don't know. I mean, that's obviously it's hypothetical, so I would never even know. But I would say I probably would have done that anyway. Like a lot of it was just silly things that are going down at like bars and restaurants and stuff where
So alcohol was almost always
of
involved.
course, like like here it's me and my like nerdly friends playing fucking trivia at the ale house, and then like these fucking jack-offs come in and they're just being assholes and stuff and start shoving each other, and if I'm nearby I'll like pull one guy off the other one. I want to play trivia.
Yeah.
Right, like that's just it. That's all it is. But no, I've never been into being at clubs and stuff like that. I mean, I did a little bit, but ultimately, I think we've kind of chatted about it before, just from a self-defense standpoint. A huge part of self-protection is awareness and not being in places in the first place. And I'll always opt for a quiet like Moe's pub or Moe's Tavern to sit and chill and hang out with my friends than
like going to the VIP of guilt or something.
Nah, man. Here's the thing is, right, like, and that's why if you saw me, I have to really turn on like customer service, Chris, whenever we go out for things like the gym and that sort of thing, because like when I was coaching at Longwood, and I was actually organizing most of the get-togethers for the UFCs at the alehouse, or not the alehouse, the Longwood Gators and stuff. Like I have to, it's my job at that point. Like I have to go around and like greet everybody and make sure everybody's okay and stuff, right? Like I was doing like that.
Dude, that was I remember that we've told the story.
Yeah.
I went to Buffalo Wild Wings after combat night. There was a scuffle at combat night, and you were there at Buffalo Wild Wings afterwards, telling all. And I was like a 1 month white belt or something. He's like, now guys, that was very exceptional. That doesn't happen all the time. Like, don't think that's what we do. Or anything.
Yeah, and plus
this
a big
is an
part
event
of,
that we weren't hosting. We were just attending it, and stuff like this can sometimes happen. There's alcohol involved.
Right.
That's not indicative of what the gym is.
Right. Like this is not a common.
It was like you were about to bring out the neuralizer from Men in Black and be like, "Pew."
Right. And like a big part of like, because a lot of times people who would see me at the gym, or see me outside of the gym, at like a Gators, if after I do my part, like I just go and I sit in the corner by myself and I just want to watch fights. Like that's literally what I'm there for, right? Like I want to eat and watch fights and have a beer.
Oh, I know. I've seen you irritated when you get cornered. There was a time you were cornered in there was a table, but we got so big that you got slid over to a booth next to our table
with noobs,
and then you weren't even on the edge. You had to slide in to make range. So now you're against the wall of a booth with three guys you don't really know. And
I don't know at all.
Yeah, you don't know at all. And one of them is basically telling the other guys everything he knows about MMA, which is really off because he's just like... He doesn't train.
He was that guy.
Yeah, he's that guy. And you're just sitting there just like... starting to see red.
He was the dude who's just like, he's name dropping for one. I've trained with this guy forever for two. And... I would be a pro right now if I didn't go to school. Like you just all that bullshit, right? God, and there are people that like actually the guy who was sitting immediately next to me.
Hey man, he would have been NCAA champ if his high school coach didn't have it in for him on the high school wrestling.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right? Like just whatever the nonsense.
He got held back from actually going to states and showing his value and getting to go to.
Yeah, but when I turn off like the customer service, Chris, like I literally just want to sit in there and watch the fights. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm there for. It's my time away from my family and stuff. So like I want to make like productive use of that time. But if I'm being like not accosted, but I have responsibilities to make people feel welcome and stuff. But like Longwood students would come up to me at Gators and they'd be like, "Hey, are you okay, man? You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" like I mean, you're just sitting there by yourself. I'm like, yeah, I just want to watch the fights and eat. like
I got food in my mouth.
That's why I'm here. I just want to watch fights and eat. Like we socialize so much at the gym. I just want to sit there and watch fights and be with you guys. But so that's. But I've never really. I don't think I've ever. I try to be agreeable in most situations. So I don't think I've ever really been. Let's just say I'm not as bombastic as Brian McKenzie, who is going to be the dude who's there to troll in person and be able to back it up and all that. So,
but he does it in a good natured way.
No,
he's not malicious.
No, he's not like he's not out there. He's not a bully.
No,
by any means,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. So that actually that gets me thinking about something interesting, which is gym culture.
Yeah.
I feel like we have a great gym culture here, my opinion.
Sure.
And you've actually had the luxury of being in multiple gyms.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what are some of the things that a gym owner does? Not even a gym owner, so let's not put on them. But what do you think are some of the
program
attributes?
Director, or
I don't want to put it on one person. The gym entity. whether it's one person or multiple people, what are the things that you think make a gym succeed from a culture point of view versus ones that don't? Do you need, for example, because you said, hey, I'm in, when I have to be on, when I feel like I'm representing, ATT Longwood in some of those social settings. Is it doing stuff like that? Is it the gym saying, hey, we're having this event at such and such, and you actually have some structure to it? Or does it come down to just the character of the individuals at the gym and how they behave, and that influences the people coming in? Like, what do you think goes into that, and why is it so important? Because I know it's hugely important.
It's hugely important for retention.
I can't really put I think it is pretty obvious to me. At the end of the day, it's like, not only do I enjoy training jiu-jitsu, but I like doing it with the people here.
Right.
If I didn't like any of the people here, and this was my only option, I'd probably still train. But if I had another option, I'd definitely look at it, because there are two things. There's the addiction and the joy I get out of doing jiu-jitsu, but there's also the people I get to do it with and share the experience with is a big component of it. So what do you think?
I mean, like, so ultimately it all trickles down, right? And I mean, is there like a meta personality of the gym, I guess? Because I can say that there are a lot of gyms where it's business. Like most of the students will come, they go do their jiu-jitsu, they punch the clock, they go change and go home, right? Like there's not like the hangout culture.
Okay.
Afterwards. There's also there's a lot of gyms like that, and obviously like they're not going to have a very strong culture where I think we have a very organic community here where if people get together and go do stuff, like you don't have to. I do it as a courtesy, like when I'm involved, of like a who, what, when, where, why, and how of what we're doing, just to give people the facts.
Yeah.
But sometimes a lot of gyms, I feel, God, like we do things like that here because we just want to get together. I feel as though other gyms do that because they feel they have to check the box.
I can see that.
Like they either have to check the box,
where they bring a cake in like the first week of every month or something.
Yeah, like a lot of actual
member appreciation
like gyms actually do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those never, they seem manufactured, right? Like they seem like you've read this in a sales book or something.
Or it feels a little less genuine.
Genuine, exactly. So I mean, like there are those gyms that do that, but then there are the gyms who. And I think we do a really good job of this, is making people feel included. We're very, we don't have a very homogenous group of people here. Maybe personalities are all very, very different, but I don't know. Like it's hard to say. Like I can think of a couple gyms off the top of my head where, and a lot of it too is depending on how you run your business model. These quote community type building events are geared towards building revenue too, and we certainly don't do that here, Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, like at all. So I don't even remember what was the original.
Well, so let me ask you this: Do you think making posts on social media from time to time, stating like some ethos, do you think that actually resonates with people in the long run, or do you think that has less of an impact? Like, for example, it's like,
yeah, I would say like
that's like at least once a quarter, if not once a month, Paul just will post a random pic. Now, I'm not saying he's doing this with I think he's doing it because he's doing it. I don't think he has a plan behind it.
Right.
I don't think there's an agenda, but very often there'll be I think he's out of captions, honestly. Like, he's like, okay, I'm uploading a picture. What do I write? You know what I mean? And there's this like, I don't care where you come from. We don't care, what you believe in, what your political beliefs are, what your religious beliefs are, where your family's from, all this stuff. We just, we come from all over and we train, right? Yeah. This inclusiveness. Do you think that has any impact? Do you think people notice that? Do you think that over time influences people a little bit in how they view the gym and how they view the culture, or do you think it's just the day-to-day interactions that the people have in the gym?
I don't. I mean, like to say that he. I'm not putting.
I can go even farther.
You know?
Like, for example, if you go into a lot of traditional, if you go into a quote regular gym, a weight gym, right, with machines and treadmills and stuff, how many times do you see on the wall like mantras, no judgments, right, and stuff like that, right? You know, we're a family.
Well, I think the no judgment thing is a very unique, is a very novel thing to gyms right now.
Oh yeah, but they all seem to have it. Crunch has it. Planet Fitness is like the no judgment.
Well, I mean, I think they're the ones who originated.
I think they have that trademarked.
Yeah, no judgment zone.
Yeah, probably something like that.
But Crunch, is that their thing too?
They have no judgments on the wall. Big.
Really?
They got it big up there on the wall.
So, but that's just it, right? Because isn't that a huge part of that is the democratization of fitness? Like, especially over the past 10, 15 years with the rise of CrossFit, right? Like, there is a certain amount of, I mean, look at it's the anti-CrossFit, right? CrossFit's fucking their slogan is forging elite fitness, right? And they charge elite prices on top of that. So,
but they also have a very strong community,
extremely strong community. How much of that is people pay a lot, so it tends to be, so there's a paywall, right? Or there's some barriers to entry.
Correct.
Some huge barriers to entry. And you can use the thing, it's like, that just means you're not committed because, whatever.
Well, it's different. I mean, you could go, it's different from saying, I'm going to go to my local Y and get a membership.
Yeah.
Even though the Y here in Orlando is very expensive.
Is it really?
It's very expensive.
Well, I mean, the amenity, I can imagine the overhead is
I just don't think, I don't think the membership covers one specific thing. It covers all the amenities. So
it's like, it's basically like you're paying, it's like insurance, right? Like you're paying for everybody else's shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
I've trained at Y's a lot. I like the YMCA. I'm not, don't think I'm dissing them. I'm just making an observation.
but like the new no judgment thing is very new across, because I mean, like there used to be also the whole attitude of like, you got to be some sort of like ultra dedicated, no pain, no gain, fucking gym rat to be the guy that's going to the gym. But now we're going to, hey, everybody can come.
Okay, so now in that vein, let me ask you a very specific question. Do you think jiu-jitsu gyms should continue to have the policy of when you get promoted, you go through the belt gauntlet of getting hit by people's belts?
I mean, if that's the tradition of it, I don't. All I know is my back was fucking hurting December 7th.
Well, but my point is, is this a relic from an old thing, or is it something that can be done in good faith and done in a way that's constructive? Because a guy like Preet has come out and said firmly, no. He's like, if your gym does that, go to another gym.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like
because
SBG.
He's like, this is a sport. Like,
wait, do you know what SBG does?
He's like, I don't need. He's like, I don't need to be
hazed,
or
beaten
exactly.
into a gang.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, like, but they do theirs differently. Theirs is like, you do an Ironman roll before your promotion, like a true Ironman.
Okay.
It's an hour-long no rest roll.
Now, you've told me that, but at the end of that, when you get the belt, do they
don't whip you.
They don't.
No, I think that is the whipping, though, right?
Well, but it's different. I mean, one can be viewed as hazing, the other can be viewed as
a ritual,
an endurance
or a ceremony.
I mean, they're both rituals.
Sure.
I mean, there's a ritual. It's just what the truth is, what it seems to come down to, especially the videos you'll see online, is people enjoying winding up and drilling their friend, once in good fun. But do you think that's doing more harm than good to jiu-jitsu and growing it?
I mean, but how many? Okay, so I'd have to look now. We don't have the stats, obviously, right? Like
we don't have
lots of
stats.
Fuzzy data. But how many students has jiu-jitsu lost because of that tradition alone? We don't know.
And is it really that turned him off, or was there something else?
Or was it
We don't
some
know
other thing?
either.
Like, was there?
But regardless,
But like, we have a cool gym, and we just happen to do that. Like, how many people have? I don't know. Like, you know.
But
like,
in isolation, do you think that's something we should do? Do you like? Let's put it this way: do you like it, or did you like the fact that you did that with each of your promotions, or did you not?
I mean, like, I kind of understand what I'm signing up for. I mean, like, if you're, this is me sounding a little judgy, but like, if you can't handle fucking getting beat up, then you're in the wrong sport, right?
Yeah. But I mean, that
that's-
has nothing to do with skill. You're literally giving your back to someone to just hit it with a.
Yeah,
I
mean, like, and if that's just a part of the tradition, that's all. I mean, like, I just gotta think back to maybe it's just something that's a part of, like, I want to say in American Kenpo karate, they do like a ceremonial kick where the fucking, like, when you get belted. I have to reach out to my buddy Phil Chufo, old friend from elementary school. He did American Kenpo for a long time while I did Taekwondo. So we're always like, my martial art's better, right? And then he had told me about, like, when they get belted up, like, you get fucking, like, kicked by your instructor as hard as you can in, like, the gut, which is essentially getting. It's not everybody in the gym whipping your back, but I mean, like,
well, it's like getting thrown.
Yeah, right.
So I have a question: where are the origins of this?
I don't know.
Are the origins from Japan or the origins from Brazil?
I don't think it's from Japan.
What about the judo throw?
I don't know.
Is that from Japan or is that from Brazil? We don't know. God, we need a historian to tell us.
An historian, or is it a historian? A historian. Okay.
A historian.
It is a continent.
To give us that, because I'm kind of curious what the origins are of that. Because I see both sides. I do see both sides. I think, in one respect, it serves no purpose. It's simply hazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. Let's not worry about you get belted and you get slammed. Or you get
Not that. I mean, like, that's.
And
plus, like, I mean, if you net a break fall, it's not going to bother you that much anyway. Like.
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, the instructor does it very light. It's ceremonial.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not he launches you. You know what I mean?
I mean, some people get launched.
I said 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, I mean, like,
if somebody knows somebody and they go hard.
I think they also know, like, people know where they're at
Cap,
too, right?
Cap
like,
launched Victor, but they're both
Right.
wrestlers, and it was almost like, well, I'm going to give you the wrestling version of this.
Yeah.
That's almost like two individuals have an agreement kind of thing. You know what I mean? But in terms of just the strapping, it's a ritual. It's so I see it as two sides. One, I see the merit of it, which is it's a ritual where the group, just like a marriage, recognizes these individuals' accomplishments.
I guess, does it require you whipping the shit?
Well, that's
out
the
of you?
second part of it.
Like,
But you know what I mean?
Right?
But it all depends how it's done. Imagine, if everyone was just kind of like when someone gets knighted, you get the sword on the shoulders and then the head. We're doing the same thing with our belts. It's just depending how we do it. If we just go dink and we're just like, that's almost everyone putting their hand. I mean, imagine if everyone put their hand on your back as you went by. That would be weird, almost. Right? You know what I mean? It's less weird to just be like, think about alternatives here, But what it seems to have, and I don't know if it came from the culture of Brazil or Japan prior.
I don't think they whip each other in Japan.
Okay, I don't know.
I don't think so.
My feeling is, what we see is a resemblance between that and hazing and fraternities, where you got people winding up and just annihilate, like, ha!
I mean, you see some of these ones, like the guys like riding by on a motorcycle and like crashing into you with a helmet. Or like, so I think those are taken a little bit extreme.
So
I mean,
I understand both, and I think the main thing is, it should be optional, and if it's optional, we need to respect that and not be like, oh, that person bitched out.
No, I mean, who is it? Like John, Yoga John doesn't do it, and he doesn't partake in it, and he doesn't get it.
Oh, he never did it?
No, it's a part of like his belief system.
He never did it. Oh, well, I didn't even notice.
That's super awesome, man.
Well, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I think that speaks a lot about his character. That he's like, I definitely wouldn't want it done to me, so I'm not going to do it to somebody else. That's fucking awesome, right? I
think the risk here's where I think things can go awry, and it's something that you've talked about on the mats, which is, I would put it this way. I don't think a lower belt should be able to hit a higher belt.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. At least the white belt. Because here's what happens. The white belts are sitting there doing for the first time, and they're looking, and they see the psychos annihilating people, and they're like, oh, awesome. And they don't, not knowing anybody, fall into this, in my opinion, the trap of whipping people hard. You know, I don't whip people hard. The first gauntlet, I think I did. And then I realized, like, I'm not going to whip people hard. So I just give them the old tap. Occasionally, with
maybe somebody you know, right?
If it's someone I know, like Victor, I will tell him, I'm going to hit you hard, buddy. You know what I mean? But there's an understanding there. There's equity there. We've gone hard with each other. We've done way worse to each other physically than that. And that's almost, but that's earned. Right? This is the complete opposite. These people don't know anybody from Adam, and they're whipping everybody hard because they see some people. They could even see me, but they don't know the equity that's built into that. That's where I feel like there's a problem. Because
that's interesting, though, because, like, isn't that a part of... So there's all a good chance that... I don't agree with it. I don't disagree with you, either way. But I'm just saying, like, isn't that a part of, like, you had just said it, like, isn't something like this kind of like a wedding, right? Like, a part of a ceremony where people come together.
Oh, absolutely.
Or
a funeral.
Funeral, right? Like,
everybody's
partaking in the same, essentially, right? So I may not have rolled with, I don't know half the names of the white belts right now, but, you know, Mr. X. And he may never roll with me, but you know what? I'm going to get my chance to whip him today, and he's going to get his chance to whip me. So it's just sort of an opportunity for all of us to come together in a sense, whereas we wouldn't have prior to or for any other reasons, just to show that we are a part of the same community. Are there better ways of doing that? Perhaps actually just cracking a beer instead of whipping each other's backs, maybe. But I mean, like, you know, there are some traditions that maybe I don't feel as though it's necessarily too brutal, but I mean, like, I don't think it's driving anybody away from the sport either, or away from the art.
Well, I definitely think we kind of, I think, are decent about having our finger on the pulse of who's stepping up.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I do think that comes with experience, that comes with relationship equity you've built up with each person. And I do worry that, you know, 2-month-old white belt shows up, you know, because of promotions, and you're setting up, like, and, you know, and I don't think, honestly, I'll say, I don't think they have the right to hit someone hard yet, because,
and they probably won't.
No, I've seen them do it. That's what that's my point. Is it's not the people that are getting their blue belts. They've been here for at least a year.
Right.
It's the people that have a stripe or two, that don't have a relation. The people they could hit hard are the people they're training with. But do you think they should? Do you think they should hit Ryan Wilkerson really hard, or do you think they should hit Victor really hard, or Mike Sahibi really hard?
No, I mean,
I don't think they should. I mean, they can't. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. But in terms of, as weird as it sounds, respecting the hierarchy, and respecting, like, hey man, like,
but
just because you're getting a free shot doesn't mean you take it. You know what I mean?
That means I would have been whipped by 7 people or something when I got my black belt then.
Mm-hmm. No, well, yeah, that's true. That's
right.
True.
Like then.
Well, actually, or
actually, it was a lot more than that. It was probably like 10 or 12. But
yeah, but my point, like, at this last promotions, when Paul was the only black belt, then conceivably you're getting hit by one person.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
right.
I mean?
Like, so that's, you know, it's sort of.
But I do think if there were some way to, I don't know, if this is your first promotion, you can watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it's just that, you know.
If you don't have a stripe on your belt, you ain't whipping nobody, you know. Like,
yeah, or even if you have 1 or 2, you know what I mean. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think that's where I don't think white belts need to. You know what I mean? It's almost like once you've been hit, now you're allowed to hit people.
But isn't that? I mean, but. So
maybe I'm splitting hairs, but I just wanted to talk
like,
on this because I do know
want people to feel included, but you don't want people to feel included, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, actually.
Right? Like, I mean,
what makes them feel more included is, like, here you go, take your. I can do it too. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But you know, like,
unload.
Here's the thing: is you say, hey, actually, I whip people pretty hard, so I'm pretty guilty of that. I don't go. I whip them once though. That's it. But
you don't start at the end and then follow the person back.
No, but like you just say, hey, like I think a big part of it too. Maybe it's the onus of the higher belts and the coach and whoever's organizing the gauntlet is to sit there and say, hey, this is all in good fun, that sort of thing, right? And then the people who are in the know and want, like, you know, Sahibi and Xander are probably going to whip the fuck out of each other while, you know, whatever. Then they sort of know that they're going to do that, but everybody else is sort of like, you know.
Yeah.
So
I just want to
setting
touch on
the
this
proper tone.
because this is definitely a subject in the community that, you know, people have strong feelings about. You know, because they're going to be people who be like, you have to do this. We're, you know,
I can tell you, we did.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Thinking back, we didn't do that Gracie Barra.
What did you get a shake, a handshake?
It's so sad that probably the biggest step in jiu-jitsu, right, is stepping on that mat or whatever the case is, or whatever. I don't even know the speech is. I don't remember much about it other than like just the shitty standards of testing.
Oh yeah, you've talked about that.
Yeah,
in various gyms you've been in.
No. Even in my own testing, looking back to the video that Stacy took of me when I was testing for my blue belt, like just the shitty standard of testing.
Well, I wish he would actually test the higher belts, but it seems like he's only going to test blue belts.
Right.
You know, people going from white to blue. So,
but
I mean, I have seen a copy of a blue belt test, or excuse me, a purple belt test. You know.
Yeah.
And I even was like, "Hey, Victor," because Victor was like, "I felt good about getting my blue. I feel like I got to earn my purple kind of thing." I was like, "Well, I've got a test. Let's just go through it." You know what I mean? And knock it out. You know.
But that's just it too, right? Because the onus should not be on the student at that point, because the onus is on the instructor, because you can't, as an instructor, test the student on things you haven't taught them. So if you have this like giant ass curriculum for a blue to purple, like Victor shouldn't look at that, or whoever shouldn't look at that and be like, I don't know if I can do this shit, right? Like, because then
so on that, because there are tons of YouTube videos on this, various black belt instructors. What does it mean to be a blue belt, a purple belt, a brown belt, and a black belt?
Yeah.
What for you? If you were put in a position of what am I looking for? What's the progression? What is the progression from white to blue first, and then we'll keep going up.
Ooh,
for you personally. You know what I mean? Because I know I've heard, you know, they talk about blue is you've got the fundamentals and you're just starting to learn jiu-jitsu still, and then purple is you're got a good grasp and stuff, and then brown is refinement. You know, you got to refine.
You figure out
your game. Purple to brown, and then brown is just refining to get to black and all. Like, I get that, but I want to hear Chris Vu's take on it.
I like the idea of a blue belt from white to blue. You need to at least understand at that point jiu-jitsu from, like, what is jiu-jitsu? Right? Like, what are we doing here? What is your goal every time you step on the mat? Like what are you trying to do? And why are you not doing like kickboxing instead, right? Like, so do you understand what the hell is actually going on? And if you and the steps in there, it's all sort of minutia. That's all dependent on the but if I see somebody, for example, who's a white belt and they're sitting there, and let's remove the idea that they're doing it strategically because they want to get good training in or something, and they are in full mount and they can't do anything, so they willingly pull the other person into their guard where you have more options. I fucking hate that. Like, if you're doing that, like, you're not doing jiu-jitsu, right? Like, you gain position, you keep that position, you work with that position.
I would argue they're doing better, though, because they're at least recognizing I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go to a position that I know. But like, to me, the worst person would be like, I'm just going to try and like throw you off and do, you know, buck wildly, you know?
Okay.
Like, for me, just, and this is your thing to answer, but I did want to come in and say, for me, one thing I've noticed because I feel like I can comment at this level. I can't comment beyond that because I'm still a blue belt. But I feel like people that I feel like, in my opinion, are ready for blue belts are people that look like they're doing jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
And are safe to roll with. They might be rough,
That's fair.
but they're safe. I'm not, you can be rough and safe.
They're not just thrashing wildly.
And they're not throwing their body into you in weird, awkward ways where you're like, Jesus, that sort of thing. So when someone when it feels like, oh, it's jiu-jitsu against jiu-jitsu, now that person's ready for a blue belt, in my opinion.
If you're grabbing with purpose, if you're doing things with purpose, and you have a basic understanding of positions, we're good. Move on. Let's go to blue, okay? So that's... Now, blue to purple, you're starting to link together. You're starting to see, hey, I wouldn't do that because of this, like that sort of thing. Like, and you understand like why you shouldn't do things, and you can see, like, for example, the relationship between just a real simple one, full guard and full mount, right? Like, full guard is essentially full mount on bottom, right? It's just reverse, the inverse of it. So like if you start to recognize that, and the same principles apply to breaking posture, controlling like limbs and like that sort of thing, and sort of molding yourself around, how do I want to get to, because essentially like if you look at taking an arm bar from full guard versus taking an arm bar from full mount, they're both exactly the same, right? Like you have to position your partner to cut an angle and strategically get your leg over, extend their arm, hyperextend, right, and lock down their.
Mechanically, it's the same thing.
It's mechanically the exact same thing.
Just one, you're on your back. The other, your opponent's on your back.
And so, like, seeing those sort of, maybe I'm being too idealistic, when you're starting to seeing those relationships and how you can translate that to, now let's move that forward to half guard, and and after that, like, side control, then all right, like you're purple belt. When
do you think you could make a statement like there needs to be some like knowledge about, let's say, more advanced guard, like De La Riva, reverse De La Riva?
Yes, and like the principles of each.
Okay.
Right, like, and why they work. I'm not saying you have to be good at them.
Correct.
But you just need to at least understand them, right? Like,
do you think that's where people say what's being asked of blue belts and purple belts now, or colored belts? You say colored belts now is way more than what was asked of them in the 90s, because there are more techniques. Like, people are doing X guard. People didn't do X guard in the 90s, but people are doing X guards now after they saw Marcelo do it. Single leg X, reverse De La Riva, this kind of stuff. Do you think that's a fair kind of statement to make when people are saying, yes, there's more to learn now in order to meet those kind of requirements?
And there's more to learn, but also, like, there's more to learn, but you also recognize the value of, like, the fundamentals and why they're the fundamentals. I think is a big thing too. So moving from purple to brown. Okay, so
just to tie up on from blue to purple. From blue to purple, you're starting to see you have an understanding of the basic principles.
I think that's conceptual jiu-jitsu at that point, I would say.
Of a lot of the guards now.
Right.
And you're starting to see connections and positional similarities, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, or...
And I guess we're also just grappling better as a result of that, too.
Yeah, and then brown, I think...
So purple to brown, what happens there?
I think you're able to, like, if... I may not be able to do it myself, but if I watch somebody else do it, I would be able to correct them.
You'd be able to what?
Correct them.
Correct them, okay.
Or like tell, like this fucking Berimbolo stuff. I can't do this stuff. Like I don't drill enough. That's probably why I suck at it. But like I'm not very good at it. But I can watch people do it and probably correct them fairly well.
Okay.
Based on like what I can see they're doing, their hand positioning, their body positioning, that sort of thing. I'm just not athletically gifted enough to be able to do it right. Like that sort of thing. And I think when you can start doing that, that's sort of like you're a brown belt.
So from a knowledge point of view, you're able to understand the principles of things enough that you can make corrections, even if you're not actively doing it. Now, we're not saying like
You're not fucking
like you don't have to be a
Galbao.
master talking about all these subtleties of actions and reactions. Like for example, Nick Paul talking about his version of half guard.
Right.
You don't need to know necessarily that to that degree, but you can come in and make adjustments for people. So that's almost like you're confident enough in the like you have the knowledge when you get to purple, but you're confident about it when you get to brown that you can actually teach someone else it.
I would think so.
Okay.
And then black is just. I don't know, man. That's the fucking never-ending question, right? Because as far
well,
as
it is. Everyone seems to say refinement. That seems to be. The word refinement.
And you hear a lot across all of these, and it sounds at this point I've read it so many times it seems so cliche. But like I've seen Paul write, I've seen Matt Thornton write, I've seen like even Hickson, and when you become a black belt, you really start learning jiu-jitsu, which. Maybe you just you've gotten so many fucking mat hours in and stuff, like you have a good understanding in your head of like you play the percentages, you know what kind of works and you know what kind of doesn't work, and you really start being more of a miner and an archaeologist in like trying to refine what you find works and to try to pass on that knowledge.
Well, you never mentioned so. In all of this, you never mentioned once this notion of a game, like developing a game, because a lot of people introduce that like, oh, by purple, you're starting to have a game. Things I like to do, things I like to funnel people to. And then brown is, I've really figured out what I like to do. And then refinement to black is, I've just honed in on, this is my A game. I'm really refining on the entries into that, the setups, how to funnel people into these positions. You never mentioned that once. Why do you think you didn't mention that? I'm not saying what you did was wrong.
I think it's because I'm not a competitive person, so I don't.
So you think that comes from kind of a competition side of things?
I think so.
Interesting. So you think you were kind of approaching things from knowledge,
and like, and like passing down the art, and like, what is it? At the end of the day, it's a martial art, and I just want to learn more stuff, and like. Not necessarily get good at it.
Of course you want to get good at it.
You want to get good at it, but I mean, like, but like, I know that. I think that's what keeps me coming back is not the. I don't remember the last time I tapped somebody out. I just don't. Like just the idea of beating people doesn't entice me all that much. But the idea of coming and Paul like. I'm hoping we continue the Barambola stuff because I know it's something I want to work on.
Yeah.
Right. Like I invert fairly well, so it should be a part of my game. That sort of thing, and like the excitement of learning something new and trying to play with it and stuff is more enticing to me than like even rolling live at this point. Obviously, it's different for other people. Like why are you motivated to compete in PANS?
Because
I
don't want to look back and regret not doing it. This is a golden opportunity to have an experience, a great experience, to see how
a unique one,
and one that doesn't require me flying out to California. It's in our backyard. So that to me is why it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to at a very low cost experience something really new. Put myself in a situation I've only put myself in once before when it comes to jiu-jitsu, and that's on a competitive mat, and do it at a level that I've never experienced before. I honestly don't know what to expect, and in a way, it's not frightening. It's very interesting, but it's also very liberating because it just underscores my mentality of, I don't know, I could go out there and be way better than everybody in my division. I could be at the same level. They could be all head and shoulders above me. I don't know. So all I can do is put in the preparation so I'm at ease with the work I put in, and I know that I'm putting forth the best version of me, or I've done the work. If I put the work in, then when I step on the mats, I just go out there and I play, and just let it all hang out. So for me, it was not looking back a year from now and being, I know it's almost $200, between the IBJJF card and registering. But, I should have done it, man. Like, how many times am I going to get a chance to just
Why
go to Pans,
Like,
right?
why not another competition? It's just because this is the
Because it's a major.
premier-
Because it's a
yeah,
major.
yeah.
And they're allowing anyone in. You don't need points. Traditionally, I think you would need to compete at an open. So I have an opportunity to go into an event that's going to have Keenan Cornelius potentially walking around coaching his guys.
Yeah,
Andre
yeah.
Galvao walking around coaching his guys. That's cool. I haven't tasted that.
Yeah.
And I might have an opportunity a year from now or 3 years from now. I could always travel to wherever this tournament's going to be, but it's in my backyard.
Yeah.
I can sleep in my own bed. So that was it. It's like, it's a golden chance. All I'm losing is some money. What I'm gaining is an experience. And even if I go out there and I get guillotined in the first 60 seconds, I know I did it. And so that's I've always been, and this is philosophically for me, I've always been someone that has never wanted to live with regret. So if I sense that I'm potentially could be doing that, I say, well, just do it. A great example of that was when I was working in Colombia. I was working at a tennis academy there, and Spain, where I had lived previously for 2 years. I have a lot of friends there. I have, in a way, roots, not actual blood roots, but just roots from living there and falling in love with the culture and the people there. That I was in Colombia, the World Cup was going on, and I jokingly said, well, if Spain makes it to the final, I'll have to fly over there, And these motherfuckers made it to the final. And I said, I need to go. Because Spain's never won a World Cup. If I go over there, if I don't go and they win, I'm going to feel like I'm going to miss out on this entire country celebrating their first World Cup win. This has never happened in the history of the world, in a way. I could experience that, and I could experience, with my friends over there. And then I said, well, even if they lose, I'm going to experience the feeling of this whole country getting on the edge of their seats and losing and feeling that. That's still it's worth it. So I dropped $2,000 on a ticket at the last minute to fly from Bogota, Colombia to Madrid. I told my friend, I was there for 4 days, and it was in terms of a 4-day period.
That's a very.
You can't compare
that's
those
a
4
long
days.
flight, too.
You can't compare those 4 days to anything. I just told the people. I showed up on Wednesday. I was like, guys, I know this is. I'm giving you last minute notice because I'm leaving, but I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Spain for the weekend. And they were Colombian. They understood. They they're soccer fans. They got it. You know what I mean? And dude, that was the best money I ever spent.
Is that when you ran the Bulls? No. That was when you actually lived there.
This is. I just went there. I was there for a day. There was the finals. They won, and I mean, if you heard, the stories. I'm millions of people out in the streets. I'm swimming in fountains with people. I'm on the back of a bicycle riding down what would be the equivalent of Times Square in Madrid.
Right.
And there are no cars. They're just people.
When is this going to happen in America?
What do you mean?
Why doesn't this happen in America?
What do you mean?
This universal celebration of everybody. That's awesome to hear that. Swimming in fountains. Civil unrest. It's joyous.
This is something that's never happened in their history.
What would it take for that to happen in America? Do you think?
Oh, I don't know, man. You're talking about a country of 300 plus here that's very diverse, and Spain is going to be a less diverse country with, I believe, there's 60 million people there.
Okay.
So. It's a little different, man, but the thing is there was an opportunity and I didn't want to live with regret. And even though it was kind of a tough pill to swallow, in terms of well, shit, this money could be useful, but it was a chunk of money. But if money spent on experiences, I know it's cliche and you see it in Instagram posts, spend money on experiences, it's true. You spend money on experiences, that's going to last a lifetime. Objects can break.
Oh, sure.
I know I'm kind of diverging, getting very philosophical.
Yesterday was the 8-year anniversary of when Stacey and I flew to Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
On our honeymoon.
Did you celebrate it any special way?
I mean, we went to bed.
There.
I mean, we got a kid now, so we're just.
So, anyway, I know that got very kind of, melancholy, kind of not melancholy,
No, melodramatic.
Melodramatic. What? See, I'm losing words here. The nostalgic, very nostalgic,
yeah.
right? But it's 100% the motivation between
For you to get
I'm
out
doing
there.
this because this is a chance at a low cost to have a unique experience that I don't know how often I'm going to have.
Yeah.
Let's do it, And oh, by the way, I kind of said that I always wanted to do a tournament, towards the end of being at a belt, just as a way to see how I stack
yourself.
up. Yeah, as my own little test
That's
to
awesome.
myself. I did a white belt. I was planning to do a new breed here with some of the guys. I wasn't
Everybody
for a
backed
while.
out.
I wasn't planning to do anything. I was like, whatever. It's a tournament. It's not a big deal. And after you see a couple new breeds and Nagas, it's at least here, the turnout's not great.
So what's interesting about this one is, I was already looking at the dates to take those days off so I can go with you and whatnot, right? And then you informed me, nah, COVID, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody's allowed one person. So
Yeah.
do you think that something like that actually sort of levels the playing field for most of the athletes because they can't have an entire team of people there? When you think of the Lloyd Irvin squad, with these sort of the intangibles that are involved with competing also, it's a little bit more pure.
Maybe, but I do think that I think people have said that most spectators at a jiu-jitsu tournament, even something bigger like IBJJF Worlds or PANS, are all jiu-jitsu competitors.
Okay.
So I still think, I still think a team like Atos will have enough guys competing on one day that they can bring enough people in.
And they'll still be there.
And they'll still be there because they're not, how many moms and dads or friends are traveling, to
That's
go
true.
watch? I'm sure some are.
Well, probably for
I'm sure some are, especially the major, the people that
the
do it
Keenans and
competitive.
stuff,
Yeah, I'm sure. But I do think a majority of the crowd and the noise, that atmosphere is again coming from coaches or other competitors. So people that are still going to be there. The only thing is going to deprive a guy like me from, going to watch the black belts on Sunday compete in the absolute finals. Because I'm only allowed in the day I compete. So that's the only way. But like I said, if Atos has 5 guys competing in blue belt across different things, that's 5 extra guys that they can bring.
That's
so
true.
yeah, maybe not everyone will come in, but they can still fit people in. It would actually have been easier for us if we had 5 or 6 people going, because now each person gets a +1, and now we can start doing that. But it's not like one person can bring 20 people in.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I don't know. I mean, if I went to these things regularly, I'd be able to tell you immediately, oh, dude, there are way less people compared to last year, or it was the same. That's all secondary, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll be happy if I can be on the mats for, 15, 20, 25 minutes.
So it's one round 5 minutes for
6 minute, 1 6-minute round.
1 6-minute round.
Yeah. I think purple 7, brown's 8, and then black is 10.
Nice.
So
Have you been reading up on the rules, just out of curiosity? I mean,
yes.
you kind of discussed it the other day.
Yes, I have to some degree. I probably should review them a little more again, but I have a basic concept of, at the end of the day, I will be looking at the score. I'm not gonna, I think there's some basic concepts that I think I've gotten in my head good enough. I'm not a rules expert, and I'm also aware around reaping, which is something that I'm sensitive to because I do like playing single leg X. I don't want to shy away from doing that because of potentially reaping. So
Right.
I do understand the rule about when it counts as a reap and when it doesn't. So for those of you curious, as long as you scoop the leg that you have trapped, you're not in danger of reaping at all, because the definition is the ankle has to be between your armpit and your hip. And how can it be between your armpit and your hip if it's over your shoulder? even if you're scooping it low, it's technically not in your armpit. So that's why people can come up and actually start to reap when they stand up from an SLX position, is because they've scooped it. So, and that applies to honey hole as well. If you go into honey hole or 411, if you're attacking the secondary leg, you can go over it. You can be in your armpit, no big deal. The risk is the minute you lose that secondary leg, now that primary leg is dangling between your armpit and your hip, and now you can get called for it. So you have to, when in doubt, scoop the primary leg, and you'll be fine. And again, in IBJJF, you can't attack heel hooks,
anyway,
there's no point. Look to sweep. So, in that respect, that, and then settle. When you get to a position, settle to secure the points.
Yeah.
You need 3 seconds, that sort of thing. I also did, the one thing I wasn't aware of is when you take back mount, if you take back and you cross your feet or triangle your feet, you get an advantage.
Oh, you do?
You don't get points.
You don't get points.
You have to put your hooks in but not cross your legs in order to get points. And I would definitely try to go to a body triangle as quickly as possible, thinking that would count the same. So knowing that made me realize, well, if I want to score points, I have to keep that, because I think the body triangle is a superior position.
Absolutely, it is, and that's interesting.
So I think that's antiquated on their part. I just think people, didn't do that as much, and then they called it an advantage. But I think they should update the rules and count a body triangle as hooks.
That's like the game within the game, right? Like because
I think, unless I might be wrong, there might be good reason, but I don't think getting to a body triangle is any easier than getting to back mount. You know what I mean?
No, it's harder.
To me, it would be harder.
Yeah.
So if it's the same or harder, then at least give me the same amount of points.
For it. Yeah.
I'm not, advocating whether you get an extra point for that. No, I'm not going to.
You should at least get the same points.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because if anything, it you exhibit the same amount of control, if not way more. So I just So I wonder why that would be.
Because when I do back mount, even if I don't do a body triangle, I don't like to put my hooks even. I'm always going to take my bottom hook, the one that I'm almost never going to be on my back. I want to pick a side, and on the side I'm on, the leg that's on bottom, that hook is going all across to their hip. So I'm essentially starting to put my leg in a position that it could be used as a body triangle, and then my other hand is monitoring their hip. So I don't cross, because I feel like if I just cross, I'm on my side, it's way easier for that person to escape. So that was something to be aware of. The other interesting one was if you go knee on stomach, your secondary leg, to score 2 points, yes, counts for 2. You need to hold it for 3 seconds. The leg that's not being put on the chest needs to be planted, and knee has to be off the ground. If you just go to knee on stomach from if you're on your knee and you go up to knee on stomach,
when you watch a white belt do knee on belly.
Which, by the way, we're shifting our opinion on that, because Galval's been teaching it a lot that way, and in a way you might have better control if you know what you're doing. That gives you an advantage. If you want to score points, you have to put your foot on the ground, and your knee has.
Think of
yes, so that's something else to be aware of. So, I think from competition point of view, it's just, if I get into a bad position, don't concede it. Fucking scramble and get back to guard. I had a round this afternoon, or at noon, with Casey, where he was mounting me, and he mounted me, but once his foot came free and I felt him in a mount, I went bananas and did not stop moving until I got to deep half. And I asked Paul, how would you score that? I was like, well, I would have given an advantage, but he never settled.
Yeah.
You were always moving and scrambling, and that to me is, when you play with points in your mind, that's at least what I'm doing. I'm sure a seasoned competitor would be like, "Ha, this guy's a noob," but that's the change for me,
because then
compared to how
you
I'm
don't
doing.
ever want to be down, right? And the moment you concede points, like you're having to play catch.
Whereas if I'm just rolling, I'd be like, okay, got mount, now let's work. Let's work my escape. Not let me exert a whole bunch of energy to madly try and get out of this.
Right. I mean, a 4 of all things, that would be terrible. So.
Hey, hold up those fingers. Hey.
Now they go.
And they do the pump. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's definitely focused me, and it's definitely is going to be it's going to cause me to improve as a grappler.
Awesome.
So no complaints.
Cool.
So with that, I'm going to have to shut this down because we've got 17 minutes before practice. And this is one of my hard days, so I need to make sure I'm limber
Yeah,
so I don't pull something. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I'm glad that we're all training again. I'm glad that we're recording on a regular schedule.
I'm glad to see you here on a Monday.
Yeah,
we're going to do Jits with Hits. I can't wait to see that.
That's super exciting.
We'll talk about that next time. So
I'm excited about that. So
yeah, so we're BJJ and Brews, and we will catch you down the road.
Hey, like, subscribe, share.